morning, family. I know I probably look a little different right now. I got my quilt made by my sister. In the back, I got a picture of all my uncles and aunties on my mom's side, and it makes me remember my grandparents, LZ and Daisy Cockerham. And this was a beautiful place to be because in there I felt love. And what I want to do is I want to read another passage for you today. And it's from a book entitled My Grandmother's Hands by Resmaa Menakem. And when I think about this book, I think about like whenever we're sad, what do we want to do? We want to get love. And where do we go? We go to a loving mother's hands, to grandma's hands. I'm going to read an excerpt out of chapter 3. It's called Body to Body, Generation to Generation. This is for all of us on how to deal with unrecognized, unhealed trauma. It can be beneficial to individuals, to couples, to families, and to communities. And what I want to do is I want to read this. And then what we're going to talk about is not just looking at unhealed trauma, but what we can do about it. It reads, when therapists work with couples in crisis, we often discover that at least one partner has unhealed trauma. We also commonly find that that partnership is configured so that that trauma gets repeatedly reenacted and sometimes passed back and forth between the two people. Healing the trauma becomes the first step in mending the relationship. It's not hard to see how trauma can spread like a contagion within couples, families, and other close relationships. What we don't often consider is how trauma can spread from body to body in any relationship. Trauma also spreads impersonally, of course, and has done so throughout human history. Whenever one group oppresses, victimizes, brutalizes, or marginalizes another, many of the victimized people may suffer trauma and then pass on that trauma response to their children as standard operating procedure. Children are highly susceptible to this because of their young nervous system, and they're easily overwhelmed by things that older, more experienced nervous systems are able to override. As we have seen, the result is a soul-wound intergenerational trauma. When this trauma continues from generation after generation, it is called historical trauma. Historical trauma has been likened to a bomb going off over and over and over again. When one settled body, that's a body that's in a good state, encounters another, this can create a deeper settling of both bodies. But when one unsettled body encounters another, the unsettledness trends to compound in both bodies. In large groups, this compounding effects can turn a peaceful crowd into an angry mob. The same thing happens in families, especially when multiple family members face painful or stressful situations together. It can also occur more subtly over time when one person repeatedly passes on their unsettledness to another. In her book, Everyday Narcissism, therapist Nancy Van Dyken calls this hazy trauma. It's trauma that can be traced back to a single or a specific event. Unhealed trauma acts like a rock thrown into a pond. It causes ripple that moves outward, affecting many other bodies over time. After a month or years, unhealed trauma can appear to become a part of someone's personality. Over even longer period of times, it is passed on and get compounded to the other bodies in a household. It can become a family norm. And if it gets transmitted and compounded through multiple families and generations, it can start to look like culture. But it isn't culture. It's a traumatic retention that has lost its context over time. Though without context, it has not lost its power. Traumatic retention can have a profound effect on what we do, think, feel, believe, experience, and find meaningful. In reading these passages, I stumble over the words sometimes because memories pop into my mind. At the beginning of this chapter, Cicero says, not to know what happened before you were born is to remain a child forever. And Maya Angelou says, no man can know where he is going unless he knows exactly where he has been and exactly how he arrived at his present place. I think about how many of us have this hazy trauma, this historical trauma, this generational trauma, and then our unsettled bodies pass this along to our children to our wives, our husbands, our friends, our family members, to our community members, and it creates a culture of chaos. So when people say, why are we so upset? Why are we so frustrated? Get over slavery. No, slavery happened years and years and decades and over centuries ago. But that pain remains. But the beautiful thing about it is this. How do we turn an unsettled body into a settled body? See, that's what grandma's hands is. It's a loving touch. It's just, hey, everything is going to be all right when we don't even know if it's going to be all right. But somehow those hands of love, those hands of protection come and calms us. So they said when one settled body touches another, it has the possibility to settle another. What are some of the things that they suggest that we can do? Sleep. Get enough rest. Practice silent meditation. Do yoga. Get plenty of pleasurable physical exercise. Get regular massages. Take long walks. Go dancing often. Listen to Weightless by Macaroni Union. Listen to music at a frequency and a hertz level that makes you feel good. Get regular manicures and pedicures, and the author stresses this is especially for men. Apply essential oils to your body. Pleasant scents to your home with candles and essential oils. Take long, relaxing baths and bath salts. Spend time in nature. Laugh regularly. Hug and kiss your parents, grandparents, and siblings. And of course, your spouse and children. If you have an animal, like a dog or cat, spend time with them. Volunteer at a hospital where you can hold a newborn, especially one that may be in neonatal intensive care if you're allowed in. I know obviously with COVID, that's a more difficult stance, but the thing is to do something for someone else. In our unsettled bodies that we have, if we continue to be unsettled, we multiply that. But if we want to know how we break generational curses, what we do is we have to be the one to say, how do I settle my body? How do I allow a healing to begin on things I can't even begin to contemplate or resurrect in my mind? Because they happen pre-verbal memory or happened and were stored in my DNA because they happened to my ancestors years or decades or centuries ago. Find your grandma's hands. Find that loving place to help unsettle your body. And once your body is unsettled and you see a body that's not settled, it's unsettled, bring your love and make sure that your settledness can conquer that unsettledness. Don't be brought down by that unsettledness. Black History Month. It's not always about accolades of what we've done, but it's also about how do we progress for the future. So maybe in years to come, someone is talking about what we've done and how we helped them. Black History Month. Go find your grandma's hands. Get that body settled. It's been the Blacksmith, DJ Big Daddy Dre. We love you.